7 kings, 4 riders, 3 wars, 181 years. When Aegon the Conqueror set foot on Westeros, she had already been alive for half a century. For all of that time, one dragon refused to die. Welcome to Westeros Within, where we journey into forgotten ages, hidden legends, and ancient mysteries. This is Meet the Dragons. Her name was Vhagar. She was named after an old god of Valyria, like her siblings before her. Her scales were the tarnished bronze of an old coin. Her teeth were as long as longswords. Her wings were broad and heavy, scarred from 100 years of war. She was the smallest of the 3 Conquest dragons when young. By the end, she was as large as Balerion the Black Dread at his peak, and too large to fit inside the pit that had been built to hold her. Vhagar was hatched on Dragonstone, 52 years before the Conquest. The doom had already swallowed Valyria. The century of blood was burning across Essos. On that black volcanic island, the Targaryens hatched the dragons that would one day take a kingdom. 3 would matter more than the rest: Balerion, Caraxes, and Vhagar. Visenya Targaryen, warrior sister of Aegon, claimed her as a young woman. She rode her for 60 years. Visenya was steel and discipline. At her hip hung the Valyrian sword, Dark Sister. Beneath her flew Vhagar. At the Field of Fire, all 3 dragons flew together for the only time in history. 4,000 men fell in a single afternoon. House Gardener was wiped from the earth. And while Balerion melted Harrenhal's towers into twisted stone, Vhagar did something quieter. Visenya took her alone to the Eyrie, the mountain castle no army had ever taken. She did not bring an army. She landed Vhagar in its courtyard. The boy king Ronal Arryn looked up at the dragon and bent the knee. No sword was drawn, no arrow was loosed. Fear alone had done the work of a war. Remember that sword, Dark Sister. It will find her again. Visenya died in 44. For 29 years, Vhagar slept in the sea caves of Dragonstone. No one came. Then a 16-year-old prince named Balerion the Brave claimed her, and for 28 years she was his. His name is remembered less than hers. He died, and Vhagar slept again. Decades passed. She was claimed at last by Laena Velaryon. Laena loved her. Laena died young. After a day and a night of labor, she rose from her bed, determined to die as a dragon rider should. She collapsed on the tower steps before she ever reached her dragon. The night after the funeral, on the cliffs of Driftmark, a 10-year-old boy named Aemond slipped out alone by moonlight. He climbed Vhagar. She led him. When the other children confronted him afterward, a dagger came out. Aemond lost his right eye that night. He would wear a polished sapphire in its place for the rest of his life. He called it a fair trade. A 10-year-old now carried the oldest weapon in the kingdom. Ten years later, above Shipbreaker Bay, Vhagar caught a young dragon named Caraxes in a storm. On his back was Lucerys Velaryon, 13 years old, carrying a message. Some say Aemond commanded the kill. Some say Vhagar chose it herself. The books cannot agree. 3 days later, Caraxes' head washed up below Storm's End. The dance of the dragons had begun. At Rook's Rest, she fell from above onto the Red Queen Meleys and ended her. 1 year later, Daemon Targaryen waited at Harrenhal. He called her master into the sky above the God's Eye. The dragons spiraled upward, locked together, and began to fall. As they fell, Daemon leapt from his saddle onto Vhagar's back. He drew Dark Sister, Visenya's sword, the sword of her first rider, and he drove it through the sapphire eye of her last. All of them struck the lake. The water rose as tall as the broken towers of Harrenhal. Her skull lies there still, beside the castle Balerion melted 130 years before. She was the last thing alive that had flown with Visenya. When she sank beneath the God's Eye, the last age of giants went down with her. There are more stories to tell, more dragons to meet. Tell us in the comments which dragon you want next. Subscribe to Westeros Within and share this one with someone who loves dragons. Every like, every comment, every share helps us keep going.